Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. This episode we're discussing the 5th generation of video game consoles and our favorite games on them. I'm your host Michael, and John's on the other side.
I am here.
I don't think I'm the host. You're the host too, so we're co-hosts. But I guess it's because I do the intro.
Yeah, I'm just glad to be here.
All right, well, I'm barely here mentally, apparently, because this is take 3 or 4. All right, so we're combining all of this into a top 20. We're not separating it by console, which I think we've only done once before. Right? It's like, I think we did with the Nintendo and the Genesis.
No, that's what I did. That's what I ended up doing with the Saturn, the Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, so this is just 20, and then we will discuss the ones that almost made the list. So, you want to go first?
I will take this one. All right, so my first one, and in a way, I think these ones actually are in my favorite to least favorite.
Okay, I just rolled
20.
random, yeah.
Because my first one is Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, which is it's a remake of the Lunar game for the Sega CD, but this version's expanded, story beats are tweaked, here and there. The animation's better. There's like 10 minutes of animation in the original game, and there's almost an hour of animated cutscenes in this version.
Now, with the original version, was it actually animated, or was it just like, still screens kind of?
It was animated, but it was very limited with what they could do because the Sega CD did not have that great, I think,
okay.
But there was animation. And it was also outsourced to another company, whereas the original game was in-house animation. I mean, I'll say this: Lunar, it's still fairly standard fantasy RPG, JRPG stuff, but this it still has a great engaging story. The music's on point. It's a blast, and I love this game so much.
I do have on my emulator the Sega CD, so I wonder if that's part of the package or not. I should try.
It's definitely worth it. Even the Sega CD one, it's still a great game. I just think because this is like the director's cut version of it.
Okay.
Resident Evil 2, a sequel that definitely improves on every aspect of the original and then some. What's cool about it was you had the game was on 2 different discs, where each disc was actually the story of a different protagonist. You had Claire and Leon. And what's cool about it is you play through one, put in one disc, you play it. You play in the second disc, and you're seeing the same story, but from the other character's perspective. And then, if you say you play the other character as your lead character now, while the story beats are the same, they're also totally different. So you're technically playing 4 different games in Resident Evil 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've only ever played the first one, so. Well, no. I played 4 as well.
This is of these games. This I think is my favorite one, hands down. I think it's the best of the franchise. It's nonsense like all the other Resident Evils, but it's a little bit more focused than the original one, and not weird actiony bullshit that the franchise kind of went off to. Granted, the new ones are first-person horror games at this point, but I don't know. I can't get into those as much. My next one is Rage Racer. Basically, it's Ridge Racer 3. It's my favorite. You can, as you win races, you earn credits that can be used to upgrade your cars. The game looks a lot more realistic. Granted, this is PS1 thing, so realistic.
Yeah.
Quotes. But it was still. At this time, you're starting to move towards simulation races like Gran Turismo and stuff, and this was maintaining that awesome arcade feel. Metal Gear Solid is my next one. PlayStation really was the system of these games that kind of changed the concept of what a video game could be, really. And, I mean, there were some cinematic style games, but this one, you start feeling like you were playing a movie.
Yeah.
And it's such an incredible thing, and it's seriously, you're playing the most bonkers movie ever, and as insane as this franchise went, this is probably the most normal game of the series. Let's see, I think my only no, I think I do it for another 64 game, but GoldenEye for 64.
Yeah, required.
One of the few games that from the N64 I actually like. I was shit at it.
Yeah, I hate an N64, and I did, but I was pretty good at GoldenEye for some reason, which I'm usually not. But this is that party game that made the system, the one that everybody played in the dorms. This was for the older ones, not like the Mario platformer kind of stuff. This is for like older kids.
Yeah, the 4-player co-op, not co-op, but 4-player death matches. It was fun. Even if I wasn't good at it, I had a great time. Let's see. My next one's Xenogears. It's this JRPG that actually almost didn't get a U.S. release because, well, you effectively have to go out and kill God. Or at least a God. But it's this really twisted RPG. Very philosophical and religious-oriented, obviously. Killing God is part of it. You actually had not only cool combos and stuff where you actually, as you're fighting, can you build these combos from effectively like your power meter tells you how much attacks you can do because each attack costs a different amount. So it's like, okay, yeah, 2 strong attacks, or you can do, one medium, 1 strong, etc., etc. And it even had these mechs that you could fight in. And you had a tactical thought around it because you actually had to, you basically have fuel that you're using, and if you get hit, your fuel goes down. If enemy hits you in your fuel thing, your fuel goes down. And as you do attacks, your fuel goes down. So you kind of have to think as, what attacks are worth it to defeat your enemy. It was a really interesting game. Grandia is my next one. It's from the same people who made Lunar. It's another great one. I had tons of fun. I don't have a ton of notes on it. It's a blast.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
Let's see. Einhander. It's this 2.5D side-scrolling shooter. It's kind of like Gradius or R-Type. But as you play, camera angles will change on you.
Okay.
So you'd be like, we're doing side scroll. Okay, now you're in the back of the ship, and et cetera, et cetera. It also has some of the best electronic music ever. Castlevania, Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, I played that one. That was great, yeah. Well, I mean, that's nothing new, I guess, to tell anybody. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, it's technically, I think this really was the first Metroidvania that I really, and pardon the pun, sunk my teeth into.
Yeah.
But, this is also, again, another game where the music is fantastic. It's stuff that you can just listen to outside of playing a game. And this really seems to be a theme around a lot of music, especially on the PlayStation. Conker's Bad Fur Day.
I was wondering if you're going to bring that one up.
Yeah. Another pun. A rare thing for Nintendo, a rated R game. It's filthy, but it's very funny.
I've never played it. I've only ever seen videos of it.
Well, one thing is, it's got a lot of movie references that date it completely, and even it dated it when it came out, because there's like an Alien reference, there's Matrix references. It's a thing, but it's a story about a foul-mouthed squirrel with a hangover, just trying to get to his girlfriend's place, and then all the shit, literally at some moments, that he has to get into. Does he deal with? All right, Final Fantasy VII made my list. Game that I have a love-hate relationship with.
Yeah. Why is that?
I played the ever-living shit out of this game, and I mean this. I broke the money system. I broke the clock. Every character had master materia. If you understand what these words mean, then I think you kind of understand that, yes, I played the hell out of this. It's a shitty story. It really is. It's a game that has beautiful moments. The magic system, the materia system is great. Music's wonderful. But it does not hold up, especially coming off of Final Fantasy VI, which has, brilliant story along with everything else. This one is just, our villain is going to summon a giant meteor because, and you never, and I guess some of that's lost in translation.
Oh, okay, I was wondering.
But it does not. The story just becomes meaningless drivel, and it was a huge game. So quote unquote, everybody loves this one, and so it's exploded in the media, and there's all kinds of spin-offs and shit, and they can't make that. I'll use this phrase: you can't polish a fucking turd. Right? You can't make this nonsense story good by making more sequels and shit. But then again, such great music, such great moments. Tomb Raider 2 is also on my list.
Okay.
It's a more robust version of Tomb Raider. A lot more variety in levels. The Venice level in particular is my favorite. A little less exploration, a little more action, but it's definitely, I think, of those original games, I think this one is the best one. I got Colony Wars, which is the last space combat simulation game that I played that I liked.
I don't know that one.
Oh, it's very much in the Wing Commander vein
of
stuff. And, I mean, Colony Wars, the name tells you what the plot is. What's kind of nice is the game has multiple paths you can go on based around how well you do on missions. So you do have multiple endings to get, depending on how good or how much you suck at it.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's Parasite Eve, a little horror RPG, not a common thing. Again, with the great music. Also has a little bit of a tactical flair to it, because you're able to move around on the battlefield, and all the enemies and yourself, you can see the range that your attacks have. So you can find a way to get your character out of range just enough to avoid them hitting you, but also hitting your opponent at the same time. It's also a weird fucking story about the mitochondria evolving to a point that it's basically revolting against humanity.
Okay. Weird.
Yeah, it's like based off a book or something, book or a movie. Final Fantasy Tactics. Tactical RPG from the guy who created the Ogre Battle series, which I know I mentioned with Super Nintendo.
Okay.
High fantasy conflict, two noble factions, blah, 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 blah. It's cool because multi-layered 3D battlefields that you can fight in, and it's a tactics game. It's a chess match. Wipeout.
Yeah, I definitely played that one.
Yeah, that one is a blast. Everyone go and watch Hackers, and you can see people playing it. It's F-Zero, but less cartoony.
Yeah,
it's a blast. Silent Hill, the Clive Barker to Resident Evil's George Romero.
Okay, yeah.
This game, especially this first one, is really fucked up and disturbing. I mean,
I've never seen those movies. Are they good?
The first one's okay. It did have the same problem that the Thing reboot prequel thing had, where they had practical suits and then they went and overdubbed everything with CG.
Okay.
So that kind of hurt it. But yeah, the movie is somewhat a remake of the game. There's changes. But I think one of the best parts of this is that shift from the shitty, foggy Silent Hill to the urban hell version of Silent Hill. Every time that happens, you just start you start going, oh god, shit's gonna go bad. See, I've got Tony Hawk Pro Skater. It's like, I don't give a shit about skateboarding.
I know, right?
Amazing.
I mean, I know I like skateboarding too, but I can't do it. I cannot even get it on a board, but yet I'm fascinated by this game.
This was so much fun. It's so well constructed, and that remake does the thing that you want a game to do, which is make you think that you're playing the game that you had played in the past. It feels right, even though they fixed everything about this game.
Yeah. Do you think that the game is responsible in any way with that new boom in the whole extreme games, or is just timing was just right? Like,
timing was 100% right, because again, Tony Hawk became a name because of stuff like all the extreme games and stuff.
But it seemed like, it was in movies again, and the X Games took off. It just felt like there was something in the air that was really like, okay, it's time for this. But it wasn't just skateboarding. All of it took off. I mean, you're going to see, because on my list I have a few of these games as well that they're in the vein, but they're just like bikes and stuff like that. So it's the same, like, engine.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing is, we started getting the X Games. Everything. It was the 90s. It was extreme.
Extreme!
Let's see. My next one, Final Fantasy VIII. I think this has a much better story than 7. The magic system's interesting because you're drawing it from creatures. Oh yeah, I did write a basic thing. The story of this is basically centered around you're a bunch of child soldiers. Because, you're going to school to be a mercenary.
Great.
Yeah, you're child soldiers. I never thought about it when I was younger playing this game, but wow, yeah, that's a concept. I mean, they're a quote-unquote adult or older teenagers, but same. I'm splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah. It's like the Hunger Games. Like, you're not adults. Stop it.
Yeah, but it definitely is. I think in a lot of ways this is better than 7, but at the same time, it still has the shitty, fairly silent protagonist syndrome where Squall's just a dick. He's not likable in any way, and that's the same problem with Cloud from 7. He's a dick and not likable in any way. My final one is Twisted Metal 2. Dude, you get to blow up famous landmarks. That's all I don't... It's a fun car combat game, but shoot a missile out into the background, and oops, there goes the Hollywood sign. You drive it around in Paris, and you're in the Eiffel Tower. If I remember right, you get to blow the shit out of the Eiffel Tower. I mean... what more do you want?
Apparently, I never played that one because I don't remember that. I only played the first one, I believe.
It is a lot more fun than the first one, but not that much different either.
Yeah, I think I would have remembered that though. That's pretty cool.
But all right, so what's yours?
All right, kids. I can't believe we were through 20 already. Really?
Yep.
Bananas. All right, so I start off with the Sega Saturn. I have Scud, the Disposable Assassin. God damn it, it's so much fun. If you ever read the game, you would be questioning how it's possible to take a comic book that was clearly written by lunatics and turn it into a coherent video game, and yet somehow they did it. And I'll say this, don't get the PC version. It's fucking stupid. It's like a strategy game. It's nowhere nearly as fun. You're doing like John Woo slides with 2 guns under like barriers and stuff like that and taking out the bad guys, and it's darkly humorous just like the comic book. I mean, it doesn't go to the extremes as the comic book because if you read it, you know it's out of its fucking mind. But it's a lot of fun, and I wish I could get it again without having to actually buy an old Sega Saturn.
Never played it. I do know of Scud, but I never played this.
The other one that was on Sega Saturn is Panzer Dragoon. I mean, come on, what a great, innovative shooter. It's a rail shooter, right? I guess technically.
Yeah. It did not make my list, but it was close to it.
Okay. Nights into Dreams was another one. A lot of these I got to play when you go to Toys R Us, and they had the little display TV back when they used to do that kind of thing. I honestly don't know if I've ever actually played Nights into Dreams not at Toys R Us because I couldn't afford it.
It is fun. I will give it that. I know I definitely know I talked about it on the show proper. It is a blast. It's a blast of the game. It's from Sonic Team. They had a good idea. Sadly, it just never became the franchise they wanted it to.
Yeah, it's so weird. Both of them barely sold well, which they're the best things, I think, on the whole system. It's just shocking to me that it's like, I guess the franchise is dead in the water. I guess we have to go, milk Sonic for one more run.
It's constantly milking it,
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. Okay, so the only handheld game I have, and it's not solely for this system, but there's a reason why I chose it. The Neo Geo Pocket was a system that came out at the very end of this generation and flew into the next generation. So I wasn't sure where to put it because it was originally a black and white, and then later they came out with the Neo Geo color pocket, and that's the one that this was on. So I might be cheating a little bit, but Pac-Man on that system is the best controller you'll ever get for the home system. It hands down the best. I don't care what. Even the PS2 and the N64, those controllers are nowhere nearly as innovative and well designed as the Neo Geo Pocket. And it's always a shame the system didn't sell, but they couldn't get any third party at all, so it was just their stuff, and it was usually like shortened, lower grade versions of like Metal Slug and Samurai Showdown.
Well, and also they sold it for so much too.
Well, no, not well. Here's the thing: is what I got it was. After its initial run, and they had bundled it into a package for $99, where it was the system, and I shit you not, was 6 games. And then they would have other packages of 6 games. Actually, no, I think the original one came with 4, and then the packages other than that came with 6. And they were like $49.99 or something like that. So I got like nearly every game, and I played the fucking shit out of it, but then I lost my job, and I had to sell it, and now it's impossible to get for a good price.
Yeah, well, they did have a little portable plug-in Neo Geo thing.
It's a 2-inch screen. Fuck that shit. This is a big, nice screen or whatever for a handheld, and I don't want that little. It's not. I guess I could get a controller, but it's not very ergonomical.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I've never played this version of it. I never knew anyone who had Neo Geo.
Yeah, it's just one of these things where I got curious about it, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I was like, oh my god, this plays like it does in the arcade. The N64, I think the only entry I have for N64 was exclusively theirs, is GoldenEye, and we already discussed that one. Seriously, just hours on end playing this game. And everything else, I believe, is PS1. ESP Extreme Games was, I think, the very first game that my best friend got on the PS1, and we played it nonstop. Most of these games are college games that we played in the dorm against each other. Armored Core. What a great franchise.
God, that's such a great game.
I love designing the robots. It's kind of like an early version of BattleBots, except it's more, fantastical, where you're just like, okay, I'm adding this and this and this and this. Okay, I got the perfect robot. Oh, I died in 5 seconds because my friend is better at this. I have Army Men 3D. I don't know if anybody remembers this game, but I had a lot of fun. It's kind of like Lemmings in a weird way. Like it's design.
They had a bunch of them. That was a big franchise.
Was it? Okay, I wasn't sure. Another obscure one is Blasto, a platformer with kind of like cheesy Flash Gordon, Marvin the Martian kind of graphics, and the main character is a big idiot, a machismo guy, voiced by Phil Hartman.
I remember this mainly because of a demo disc that it was on.
Okay. I don't think I ever finished it though. It's a little hard. It's the closest thing I would say this system's version of like Earthworm Jim with that kind of tone and design.
Yeah, oh definitely.
I have Crash Bandicoot. This is like towards the end of the mascots. I feel like it's only going to go for a few more years where it's like this style of game where they, everybody tried to have their Mario.
Well, they did. Sony did have another. At least 2, yeah, they did have 2 kind of mascot-y games on PlayStation 2, but, 3. But yeah, this was their mascot for such a long time, though.
Yeah. I love the commercials where he would sit outside Nintendo headquarters with his little speakerphone or whatever, and like mocking them. I think the other one they had, I don't remember if it was this or it was Sly Cooper. I think it was on the PS2. I think that's the last of their attempts at a mascot.
Well, you had that. You had Jack and Daxter.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know what those are later.
And Ratchet and Clank. That was it.
Okay. Where am I at here? Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX. There's 2 at the same time. Dave Mears Freestyle BMX, but the Matt Hoffman game I think was better designed because it was from the Tony Hawk team.
Yeah, I definitely played the Matt Hoffman one.
I think it was one that sold better too. I can't remember, but they really let's well, let's just take everything that works with Tony Hawk, and let's just make it work with this. Whereas Dave Mirra almost felt like it was close, but just not right.
Yeah, I don't know on that one, but yeah, no, there's, as you said, this was the age of the extreme sports.
Yeah.
So many of these games kept popping up.
Speaking of Destruction Derby, yeah, so many of these are somehow extreme sports oriented. It's so because the previous generation they were obsessed with getting the perfect football, hockey, soccer, baseball, and now it's like that weird gap where they're not that interested anymore.
Well, they kept releasing them, and
they were, but
every single year.
I feel like the sales weren't as big as they would be on the generation after this is where it seems like it picked up again.
Yeah, having not been that kind of person, I couldn't tell you, but yeah, there was definitely every single year there were multiple sports games. You know, the NHL, NCAA, NFL.
Yeah, and of course Madden like crazy. They was obsessed with Madden.
Yeah.
I have Jet Moto, just a lot of fun, a racing game on jet skis. Let's see, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, it's like that one definitely was a blast. Same thing with Wave Racer on the 64.
I have one here, and I feel like I played it on a previous system, but this is like an updated version. I could be wrong. Road Rash.
There was, yeah. That was on the Genesis, and then they ported it to a few other.
Okay, because I thought it played it and looked better on the next system than it did on the Genesis.
Yeah, it was basically like, I think they went to the Saturn and then it went to PlayStation and the like. So like it was just a upgraded version of it.
I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I think I have it right. It was Marvel Superheroes versus Capcom, and it was Clash. I feel like I cut off half the title for some reason. Clash of Titans or something like that.
Yeah, or Clash of Heroes.
Clash of Heroes, thank you. Just the idea that you could combine those together, and there's was it Children of the Atom was really great, and there's a couple others in here that were really fantastic. But this is the one where if you love both franchises, it just so insanely well designed. I played this one in the arcade and the home.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing, is that's became the precursor to Marvel vs. Capcom, which then became the precursor to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is the best one of all those.
Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, so unique in its design. I mean, it's a platformer, but there's something so about the world building and the characters and how you played it. The only thing I have as a bad memory is for 2 days straight, my roommate would not quit. He just wouldn't even take a break. He could not get past this one level. And I just kept hearing the same thing over and over. What? Whatever. And it drove me insane. I had to leave. That's the only bad.
Yeah. It's kind of a Lemmings-like in a way, because as Abe, you were having to control, the creatures in in these environments in order to get your little friends to the exit, so that you can actually get away. And it was fun, but it was also such a pain in the ass because Abe controlled like a brick.
I love the cutscenes too. It was kind of a leap forward in design, I think, animation design. That's what people mostly talked about. Is like, this looks different, like the same way that we had with Diddy Kong, like that next level of graphics.
Oh yeah. It was a fascinating game, and that whole franchise never really figured out what it wanted to be.
Yeah,
which is kind of a shame.
The next one is another mascot from PlayStation, Rayman, which is just as silly and so much fun. I would say Crash is a little more playable. I like repeatability, but Rayman's a lot of fun. And I think, is this still around, or did they ditch this character?
It's not around, but it's still around.
Okay.
They have really great ones that came out back on PS3 and I think it's just PS3, but like an upgraded version you can get on 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think they did a remastered, if I remember correctly.
But it ended up having a spin-off series called The Raving Rabbids.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah,
and those are kind of kicking around.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, which you already mentioned, and the first Twisted Metal, and that's my 20.
Yeah, Twisted Metal, like I said, that first one's a lot of fun too.
Have you seen the show yet?
I have not.
Okay, I'm curious if it's any good. What didn't make your list, but almost?
All right. I already did mention that I almost had Panzer Dragoon, but Radiant Silver Gun, which was my first bullet hell shooter.
Okay.
It's impossible, but it's so much fun still. Rival Schools, Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
The first Tomb Raider, Blood Omen, The Legacy of Kain, Bushido Blade, and Fear Effect.
I feel like Legacy of Kain was pushed on the back of the comic books all the time.
Definitely the sequel was. I don't remember if the first one was, but the sequel definitely, because everyone wanted Soul Reaver. Because, oh yeah, look at the dude. He's so badass. He's got the mask over his face because he has no bottom jaw or whatever. He's Chamber from the X-Men.
Yeah. Oh God, Chamber. That's a reference that hasn't been brought up in forever. The ones that were you done? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Okay, like I mentioned earlier, Dave Mirra almost made it. Children of the Atom almost made it. Spyro, the third, I think the only other major character they were trying to push at PS1. Evil Dead, Hail to the King. God damn it, that game almost made the list. It makes me fucking jump.
I was thinking about that game. But
goddamn Deadites hopping out of the ground. You make me poop my pants. And then Front Mission is the last one.
Okay. Front Mission, those games are pretty good too.
All right, so that's the end of this episode, everybody. We'll be back with the next generation as soon as possible.
See ya.